Good morning, Illini. I'm your host, Matt Schrock, here with Healthy Illini Podcast. We're glad you're with us. Welcome back. If you're new to the program, welcome for the first time. We're excited you're here. If you've been with us, we appreciate your listening. But today we're talking about one of the cultural houses here at the University of Illinois, and we have a lot to get into, so I want to jump right into it and keep this intro brief. I do have three guests with me today. First off, we have Dr. Charlotte Davidson. She is the director of Native American House. Dr. Davidson, thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Also joined by two students here at U of I. First up is David Eby. He's a doctoral student with the School of Information Sciences, and he is a Native American House ambassador. David, thanks for being here.
I'm happy to be here as well.
And our third guest today is Yanaba Schroeder. She's an undergrad with a major in human development and family studies, but she's also a Native American House ambassador. Yanaba, thanks for joining the program.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, so we are fortunate on this campus to have a number of cultural houses that support our students, and today we're focusing specifically on Native American House. And so to start, just kind of give that entry conversation, would you share a little bit about what Native American House is and why these types of units are so important for our students?
Sure, I can start. The Native American House was first established in 2002, and it operated out of a small office located on Green Street. Back in 2002, our university still had a mascot that really educated people about us in the wrong way. And what has been shared with us is having an office in that location was really like being in enemy territory. Because at that time, a lot of the members of the Native higher education community on that campus were really doing things to, enliven their own identities that didn't involve connecting themselves to a mascot. So even though they started off in a very small office space, much like the space that we have now, which is small on Nevada Street, a lot of good things happened in that space. In 2003, the Native American House then opened up on Nevada Street, and it sits alongside other cultural centers, ethnic studies departments. We're right next to our academic counterpart, which is American Indian Studies. And really, it's a space where me and my staff work to create an empowering university context for the Native student community on campus. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is that we really support holistically the needs of our students. We have a satellite food bank, and that's due to our partnership with the Wesley Food Bank, which is a local nonprofit, and they also have satellite food banks throughout campus as well. We have a lounge, a conference room, kitchenette. Our space is really designed to be a home away from home, which is how a lot of cultural centers are described. But I think what makes our space most unique is, when I think about institutions of higher education, oftentimes they can unwittingly estrange Native people from who they are and where they are of. The Native American House, we don't do that. We do the opposite. We really honor those connections that Native students have to people's places and communities. And so what we do is we design a lot of programs that really support the academic identity development of our students, no matter who they are, no matter where they come from.
And so you talk about there's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of programs and workshops and things like that. And I don't want to get into too much of those because we could list those out for hours. And they're good things. It's not necessarily that I'm saying they're bad. It's that our time frame, we can't do that. But just if you're listening, know that there are programs and there are exhibitions and lectures and all these sorts of things that are available. But one thing you talked about was trying to provide that home away from home experience. And I really want to give you all an opportunity to kind of share how that functions, especially on our campus, because in the prep work, I know that you all come from different backgrounds. You all have different tribes or nations that you're a part of, or that your heritage is a part of, and but you've all come together under this one umbrella, the Native American House. So would you share a little bit, well, first share about your background and your heritage briefly, because again, we don't have a lot of time, but share a little bit about that, and then share how Native American House has helped you connect to that as you've been on this campus.
Yeah, I can go first. So a little bit about me. I'm Navajo, half Navajo and half white. I originally lived in Arizona on the Navajo Nation, and now I live out here in Illinois. What makes the Native American House my home away from home? What I found is you'll hear from a lot of indigenous tribes. Kinship is a very special thing amongst all of us. We have a lot of fictive kin and then just actual family ourselves. Being Navajo, we have the use of clanship, so we are related not through blood, but who we are related through clans. And I find it really special that the Native American House, our director is Navajo herself, so we like to call her our auntie and stuff like that. So we see all of our people that come in our house as our fictive kin. Whether it be students or faculty members of different areas of this university, we kind of treat everyone as family. And I also like to think that because our house is so small, it makes everyone so connected. There's not really places where you can branch off, but like we come downstairs and you walk into the downstairs where our lounge is, and anytime you come in, it's always laughs and people just talking. Whether you're upstairs or downstairs, if someone's laughing, you can hear them. And I think that's really nice.
Yeah, so, Yana, but you're saying we know each other's business all the time.
Yeah.
No. I wholeheartedly agree. I think, the Native American House is a really special place on campus. Specifically for me, I myself, paternally, I'm Choctaw and Muskogee Creek. My mom's side, I'm white. So I've actually found Native American House and its programming before I even started working to be somewhere where I can connect with those roots. My grandparents are passed away. I don't have that connection really. And so being able to attend the programming that, I now help put on and, organize, it was a really important and helpful and supportive hand that I needed, going into my doc program. Yeah.
Yeah, I think building off of what Yanaba and David shared, as Yanaba mentioned, I'm Navajo, but I'm a citizen of the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara Nation. That's on my father's side. But I primarily grew up around my mother's people. And one of the stories that I share with students so they can understand a bit more about my own approach in serving as a leader of the Native American House is talking about how I view the Native American House as a hogan. A hogan is a traditional home place for Navajo people. The roof of a female hogan is meant to embody the pregnant belly of a woman. So essentially, it's a womb-based space. And being a mom myself to two boys, I understand that concept intimately. And I understand that, like being a mom, the hogan really is a mom to all. And it's a space where you should feel loved, welcome, included. Nobody's excluded. Nobody's racialized. This is not a space where you're going to experience harm. As Yanaba and David shared, kinship making is integral to the work that we do, because so often, students on our campus are conditioned to, conduct things in isolation, to be this rising star, to, kind of operate in an independent and solo manner. While that may be important, we really emphasize community and being a good relative to one another.
And that's one of the, honestly, it doesn't matter what student you are. There's an element of I'm transitioning from where I was to where I'm going, and being on campus here, you're learning a lot about yourself. But what I read in your program is that you really actively try and facilitate that stepping into who you are while maintaining connection to where you've come from, or who you are through your heritage and through your ancestry and things like that. How do you actively facilitate that? Because that's a great theory, right? And everybody can say, oh, I want to do this, but you have to have a plan. So what are some of the ways that in Native American House you help, especially when you have such a diverse group that comes together? It's not coming from one particular area, one particular background, nation, whatever. How do you actively help promote academic growth and personal growth and cultural growth while maintaining connection to where you came from?
Yeah, well, the Native American House is now the home to an award-winning program. It's called the Indigenous Modality Making Collective. And really the premise behind that is, when you think of, well, first of all, what is an Indigenous learning modality? That could be drum, moccasin, cedar bag, and so on. The particular program that was highlighted in the award that we received in the spring was really built around utilizing beadwork practices. And so students, Native and non-Native students, were invited to participate. This program really required people to situate themselves on the Indigenous side to interrogate the Western, because so often our students are conditioned to situate themselves on the Western side to interrogate the Indigenous. So this really required a paradigm shift, if you will. And so the students were charged with beating, their higher ed journey. What does it look like? Not in text form, which you're required to produce these textual outcomes, papers and such in your classes, but if you were to bead your identity as an Indigenous scholar, what would that look like? And so that was facilitated by, we met weekly, journaled, dialogued, and really what I witnessed happening is that these students really became involved in this process of returning to themselves. There's an Ojibwe term, I'm going to mispronounce it, I think it's biskabe, and it means a return to oneself. So these kinds of experiences are not often part of one's development and learning as a scholar at our institution. So those are the types of experiences that you're going to have in our space, and students will feel safe in engaging with one another. And it's a co-learning experience, which could be different in most disciplines here on our campus, and they learn from each other's story. And because of that experience, students then become better at telling their own story about who they are in relationship to their higher ed journey.
So in that connection with students, David, Yanaba, as ambassadors, what is your role, or how do you fit into this, in this bringing people in, connecting to them, helping them feel accepted, feel part of things, because you have a specific role as an ambassador. Would you describe a little bit what that means?
Yeah, so I think as an ambassador, we like to kind of just be the first faces that the students see when they come into the house. We're usually almost there almost every single day.
A lot of time, yes.
It's become actually our home away from home. Yeah. So I think what's really important is when they come in, we greet them and we talk to them as students rather than us being like in our ambassador role as like our job, right? I think we see it more as, well, yeah, the ambassador is just extra to us being here every single day. But for our students, we really like to just talk to them. We talk about our favorite TV shows, our music. We like bringing up things that we can connect with them that way. And then we find things with them that are deeper that we can connect with them, or resources that we can guide them to. But as ambassadors, we really just try to find everyone and kind of I guess you would say, identify them and put them separately. We don't kind of group them all as our students. We know them each individually. Yeah, we call them our cousins and our siblings and stuff like that. But we really focus on making them their own individuals, kind of focusing on the.
Yeah, I also think that speaks to the idea that Dr. Davidson, you were talking about, how this space is sort of, academia itself is colonial and this space is not, right? We're trying to make this space something that is anti-colonial, if you will, but, forging these relationships with our students, anyone that comes in, I really feel like that attests to that principle that you've kind of instilled in us as ambassadors.
I think along with that, though, which I always like to bring up, is what our director has started doing on our socials, is not just listing us as ambassadors, but listing us as our names, our tribal affiliations, our majors, because then you'll start to realize, we go to our events, and these community members and these students, they know us, they know our names, they know our tribal affiliations, they can put our names to our faces, right? And I think that gives us also a sense of connection with our community members and our students. Understanding who we are and where we come from is really important to a lot of Indigenous people. It's that recognition, right?
Well, and that's important for just in general on a campus this large, especially, is that you can feel like you're just a number or you're just kind of existing amongst other people. And if somebody's feeling that way and they see you have your identity, have your family, your group, your place, and they're like, that's inviting, right? Because I want that, and they will be drawn towards something they want, and that really gives that space for people to be drawn in. And so that, I think that's a wonderful thing and a really important. It seems like such a simple thing, but it's such a huge thing, even though it's that name and your heritage and that sort of thing. But it's so impactful to have that be up front and center for people who are looking for that kind of community as well. Another thing, and before the episode ended, I wanted to make sure that I asked about this because it was in your prep work, but you really didn't explain it in your prep work, and I was like, okay, I need to know what this is. You talked about smudging. And I don't know what that is. I read it, and you talked about smudging and how it's an important ceremony as part of what you do. But would you please just share a little bit about what that is and why it's so impactful?
Yeah, so part of, what I mentioned earlier in terms of holistically supporting Native students, within our house, when you enter our space, you'll see that what I would refer to as a smudging station. And so there are plants that we burn, and we utilize the smoke and pray with that. We do that to clear our mind, to get our minds right. We smudge out the interior and exterior of our space just to really, clear out any kind of negativity in the space. We encourage our students to smudge. Some engage in the practice, some for the very, very first time engage in that practice at our house. And there's no shame, there's no blame about that. We're pretty good about modeling that as a healthy behavior and really as a way, as a tool for our students to persist in higher education. It's a really healthy practice. If you're not feeling a way, if you want to prepare your mind and your body and your heart for something, because sometimes they can act out of solidarity. They may not be in alignment with one another. So this is the way to get all of your human, faculties together. So our space, people are more than welcome. Native and Indigenous folks are more than welcome to exercise that practice at our house. And I just want to circle back really quickly. You had the question for Yanaba and David about, really defining their role about ambassadors. And I think they really underplayed a lot of what they do. And I always express publicly to folks that our university is really lucky to have these students. We also have 2 other ambassadors who will be joining our team Justin Bean and Will Barty, who are both from the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma. And these students, are ambassadors in the sense that they are the faces of not only the Native American House, but our institution. Again, our institution doesn't have the most positive history when concerning Native people and its representation of us, but these are educators you can count on to accurately teach you about who we are and where we are of. And they are our scholars on our campus. They travel to conferences and different events throughout the state. And we've really garnered a positive national, elevated the profile of our institution and our unit because of the ways in which they carry themselves.
So you mentioned, you've mentioned about educating, you've mentioned about advocating, things like that. If somebody's listening and they wanted to become involved, if they wanted to know more about Native American House, they want to know more about the programs that you're putting out, the lectures or the ceremonies that happen or something like that, how would they get in contact with you?
Well, one of the first things I'm thinking of here is that we have a bi-weekly newsletter that it publishes bi-weekly, but it's going to have all of our events, partner events, allies that want to advertise with us, but it mainly has a lot of our events in it, and it has the times, it has the dates, and you can find that if you want to sign up for that newsletter. It's on our website.
And what is your website?
nah.illinois.edu.
And that will be in the bio. We'll have a link there for you as well. I always like to make sure we mention it, just so you hear it, you hang on to it. But we'll put that in the bio as well.
Yeah, I would also add too that we have an Instagram channel as well as Facebook. Facebook, you can find us at the Native American House. Instagram is at NAH_Illinois. And quite honestly, like a lot of the cultural centers on our campus, we serve as the front door for the communities that we serve. So we have an open door policy, so anyone should feel free to come in during our business hours. And you can also email us at nah@illinois.edu.
And then also, if somebody's listening and they want to they want to be involved in programs, but also they're like, I want to know more about the ambassador program. How do you become an ambassador? That sort of thing. How do you become an ambassador? How would they go about that?
Oh.
Yana, take it away.
They're looking at me. So to become an ambassador, I would just say you can stop in to our house anytime. We like to give tours to people who haven't been through it, but we kind of break down, we show you the space, but also just getting in contact, talking to any of the other ongoing ambassadors. So I talked to a lot of the ambassadors that we hired this year, Justin and Will. I actually told them what it involved. In terms of planning events and stuff like that. So just talking to us and getting an understanding of that role, I think.
I would say simply attending our events and being a regular, helping out, seeing, emailing. You kind of grow into these positions where you grow trust with people.
Yeah, just making yourself a friendly face. We throw a lot of events throughout the year, and we're always asking for volunteers. So, yeah, just stopping by, checking out, asking, do you guys need help for anything that you're planning, I think would be a great start.
Well, I really appreciate you all coming. We just scratched the surface barely of what Native American House is. I know that, but hopefully this opens the door for somebody who's listening, who wants to learn more, or even needs to find community that they're feeling isolated, feeling alone, disconnected, and has an opportunity to come and be a part of the things that you're doing. So I thank you so much for sharing with us today, and I just want to say thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There are a lot of opportunities on our campus to be connected as a student body in various ways, and one of those is through cultural houses, and especially for those who have a heritage where they feel a little bit out of place here in the Midwest and the cornfields. And Native American House is one of those, and if you're listening and you have, especially if you have any heritage along that lines, and you're just wondering where you connect, where you fit in, who's like you around here, I really encourage you to reach out to Native American House. Contact them. Contact us here at Healthy Illini. We'll put you in contact with somebody who can answer your questions. But reach out, because there is community here. There's an opportunity to become part of that family and to grow in that family, grow personally, grow academically, and it's just a really great opportunity. So I really encourage you, if you're listening, you have questions, you have comments, you want to follow up, whatever it may be, that you reach out to them. But thank you for joining us today. You're on a personal journey no matter where you are in it. You are important, you matter. Your health and wellness are important and matter, and we're here to keep you well to excel. So go have a great week, Illini. Let us know how you're doing, and we'll catch you next time on Healthy Illini.